Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and welcome to Mission Control. And joining me now is Mike Jones. Hello, Mike.
Hi, yes, he was pointing at me. Tonight I take the form of many orb-like things.
Well, where are you going with that? That was started off pretty good. I thought
Well,
tonight I'd take
you were poing. You're saying Mike Jones, and you're pointing at your screen, which is full of little planetoids and
full of
things.
planetoids. That's right. Yes, right. And how they
Yes,
got there? Super colon blow. Um,
yes.
I was going to mention last night that was French Independence Day. Okay, a lot of
Mm,
good it did.
mm.
It was French Independence Day, July 14th, 1789, and they took their cue from us and they handled their rich people slightly differently than we did. They really cut their ties to them. Um, and that was yesterday, Bastille Day. And then today was a notable day, yesterday and today, notable days in the space program, an American space program, and that we did our closest flyby it's ever been done by anybody of Pluto. Mike, give them the news. I realize this is not necessarily county news, but there is a close tie, which we will tell you about in a moment. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the one of the moons of Pluto, Charon.
That's the big
And
one.
yes, that's the big one. And yeah, look at that. It doesn't look really all that much different from our moon, except for it's a little bit less pockmarked.
Well, it's got this big thing at the top, which is vaguely reminiscent of
The
something.
Sea of Tranquility or something, you know?
Well, no, I
Yes.
mean, it seems to be like something in a movie, but keep going.
Ah, yes. And then this is was yesterday. This is one of the shots approaching Pluto, but then
No, no, wait,
as
wait,
we
wait,
got
wait, no,
closer,
wait. Just before you get closer, take a look at
mm,
this, everybody. Does now I've got this theory that the Chinese are actually colonizing Pluto because when you look at the bottom of this planetoid, sorry, when you look at the bottom, doesn't that look an awful lot like either a big heart, which is not the Chinese, or kind of the outline of China? As a matter of fact, it could even be Australia. Is it possible the Australians were there before us and they're terraforming this planetoid to make room for themselves?
yes, it's welcome to Conspiracy Radio.
Yeah. But
Terraforming
Mike now
and the
has
whole.
a much closer view. Take a look at
Yes,
this.
yeah. This is a little scary. Yes, that's when we got a little
Oh, now
closer.
everything is revealed.
Yes, yes, and it's. I don't think it's the Chinese, but
No, I think it's
it may
Hollywood.
be.
Same thing.
Yes, Hollywood. Yes, Darth Vader has found or the Emperor has is turned Neptune or not Neptune. Uh,
Pluto?
whatever. Pluto. Yes, I'm sorry.
Donald
Gee
Duck's
whiz, I forget.
dog. Yes, they turned on. And if you look
Yes.
kind of down at the bottom, it does sort of look like that top part is Pluto's head, and you can see his not beak. What do they call that? You can see his
Yeah,
muzzle.
did yeah,
Yeah,
or whatever. They did have pictures with
yeah. Show us the
Pluto
real close up, would you?
superimposed on the top, but I don't have that. I don't have.
But you have the mountains of Pluto. This is amazing.
Oh,
Show 'em
oh
that,
yes,
Mike.
I do. These are the ice mountains on Pluto.
That's amazing.
Uh,
That
yeah,
is some
and
kind of close up, buddy. That's
yeah.
almost as good as the Hubble Space Telescope.
Well, no, are you kidding? This is better because these shots. I mean, imagine if you were taking a pass close enough to Earth to get a shot that looked like that.
Wow.
That would be pretty amazing. These were within, I want to say it was like 6,500 or
I think you're
7,500
right.
miles.
I think you're
Very,
right.
very close. Whereas all of our satellites are sitting up there about 22,500 and up.
Well,
You know,
this
so,
apparently has no atmosphere, so one of the
oh,
ways
sure.
that you can get closer is you don't need to worry about the atmosphere burning you up. That
Right.
that is a truly amazing shot. They must just be beside themselves in mission control in Pasadena, the
Hmm.
Jet Propulsion Labs. We have something similar to that in Grants Pass, except it's not the Jet Propulsion Lab, it's the Debt Propulsion Lab, and
Oh,
it's
yes,
powered
yes.
by all the money that we owe.
Uh-huh. I
Now,
see.
it's hard to see this one, but Mike's going to point out to you that up near the upper right-hand corner is the orbit of the planetoid Pluto, and it's completely different than the others. Why don't you trace your finger along that, everybody?
Yeah, it's the other ones are in kind of a flat ring, as you'd expect. Like if you had a string connected to the sun and it was swinging around with say Neptune attached to it, it would be in a flat plane, like all of these are. And there's Pluto in a weird, bizarre orbit of all of its own.
Well, it's
Yeah,
interesting
go.
that you mentioned Neptune because now we come back to me for a second, and over my shoulder, you'll see the largest known trans-Neptunian objects, TNOs.
Mm.
Trans-Neptunian. This trans thing is all over it's in the news everywhere. Everything's trans this, trans that. Well, now we've got
Trans fat,
trans-Neptunian objects.
transsexuals,
That's
trans.
exactly
Yeah,
right. They're taking over, I'm telling you. Okay, so over
yeah.
here we've got Pluto with it has moons. Pluto has moons. They've got
Yes.
Charon, which is the big one. Kerberos, which is the dog of Satan, Charybdis, not Charybdis, whatever. And there's Styx, the river Styx, and Nyx. Yeah, right. I think they ran out of names. And Hydra. Okay. And then over here is Eris, the famous Eris, famous, and it's got a little moon called Dysnomia. Really, they ran out of names. Dysnomia, which means kind of like not misnomia, but dysnomia, a bad name kind of thing.
Right. Yes.
Maki Maki, which sounds like something that you might have in a Hawaiian
Yes.
restaurant. Yeah.
Sure. Right.
First time
Yeah.
I ever had mahi mahi, my Hawaiian girlfriend said, I said, what is this really? She says, dolphin. Dolphin, I can't be. She's not that kind of dolphin. It's spelled
No,
completely
it
differently.
isn't.
Dolphin, not dolphin. Whatever.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
that's bizarre.
And then this is from Hawaiian mythology, Haumea, and it's planets. You're writing this down, I hope. There's going to be a quiz later. Hayaka and Namaka. And then there's Sedna. You probably remember Sedna. Oh, that's the furthest object out there. Not quite the furthest. There's 2007 OR10, which is obviously named after one of the Oregon Revised Statutes, 2007 OR10. And then there's, yes, yeah, I told you there's a local connection. And there's Kawar with its moon called Waywat. Oh, of course. Don't you know these? And do they teach this in school? I don't know. And then there's Orcus, which is where the whales go when they die, and its
Right.
little moon Vanth, Vanth, Vanth.
Yes.
Who knew? Vanth.
Go figure. I think I have a picture of Uranus here.
Oh, that's very funny. We already showed.
No, really, I do.
Your colon.
Hey, come on.
We showed down inside your colon. Okay, show us Uranus.
Yes. Yes.
You've got it. Go ahead and show it. I'm ready to see this.
I did.
Yeah,
Didn't you see? Oh, you had me blocked out, did you?
Yeah, it's a family show.
Lordy.
Stop showing us Uranus. That's just not very funny. Okay. So speaking of that, bringing it back to us, last night we had colon blow. Tonight we've got super colon blow. And the idea is we're going to take a look at clips from a year ago.
Speaking of Uranus.
Yeah, from a year ago this week. It was Cheryl Walker who got into a big fight, and she says to Simon Hare today, well, that wasn't a fight. We weren't fighting. No, we weren't fighting. You be the judge about whether they're fighting or not, about who is going to be in control of. We've got 7 clips for you tonight, plus all of these pictures from outer space. And the tie to today's commissioner meeting is when I brought up that, it's been a year wasted with Simon Hare saying, when are we going to do something? We're doing it, and we weren't doing it. And then finally now Cheryl Walker's decided that an outside consulting firm, outside the county, needs to be called in to take control over our financial future. Oh, really? And we're going to pay them, you're going to pay them out of your county taxes $37,500, and the city people are going to spend at the beginning $75,000 and pushing up toward 150,000, I understand, and it's hard to get the figures out of these guys. And Cheryl Walker said you can look all around you. There's all kinds of economic prosperity. You just have to look for it. And she maintains that the commissioners did a stellar performance this last year on economic development. Stellar.
Yeah, if it's so stellar, how come it is that we need these people from outside here? What's the deal?
And I asked, I said, where are the guys from So Ready that we've been spending all that money with? Well, they spend more money on Josephine County than any other thing. No, they don't. Simon Harris said many times that they don't. Cheryl is on their board of directors and then helps get them the money from you. That sound right to you? Well, let's take a look at the first clip. Go ahead and play this. This picks up with Cheryl Walker complaining about Simon Hare, but he'll get a chance to get his. You watch this.
For Commissioner Hare, who is not the liaison and who for 2 years could have done something and didn't. He didn't deliver a product for 2 years. And now he is wanting to usurp me as liaison, whom he welcomed with open arms to take something he did not want. And now he wants to run it his way. That kind of controlling management when we're supposed to be equal partners on the board. I don't go over and tell him how to do parks. I don't tell him how to do the public works. I don't tell him how to do planning. And I certainly don't tell Commissioner Heck how to do anything in the law enforcement area. If I have an idea, I go to them and give it to them, and that's it. They're the liaison. And I would expect the same courtesy and the same respect and the same professionalism. So, I will be opposing at this point in time any economic development director. I don't think we're ready for it, and I'm not willing to spend the money for it. And I am working on an economic development plan, and with all due respect to any previous commissioner, it is difficult, as I explained earlier, it is difficult to get all the players, to get all the information, to get all the data. It is difficult.
Well,
it's apparently very difficult.
Because she never did do it. Now, we've seen her
and she can't do it, so she's now going to have somebody else do it for her.
That's right. We've seen her plan, and her plan was made up. I've mentioned that today's meeting, too. It was a big, thick document like this, and it was filled full of photocopies of other people's plans from all over the place. Photocopies of other people's plans and photocopies of brochures. There was no coherent plan at all. And have you heard any indication that she's laid out what her plan is? 1, 2, 3? No, there's no plan. I'm not in favor of hiring an economic development director. Well, apparently that's changed. Simon Hare didn't like what she was saying. So now Simon finally gets a chance to respond. Take it away, Simon Hare.
I think because I was referenced, if you don't mind, I'd like to respond a couple of times.
Well, I just asked you to.
I've never been the liaison to economic development. I haven't had time. There were other things that were more pressing. I think I would say that progress has been made in the North Valley Industrial Park and the studies that have been done. If you're going to reference what's going on with the Demick Tower, we've had a project manager in place. We don't even have a contract signed yet on the demolition. A project manager is not something you hand off to when the project is done. It's making sure it's done correctly all the way along, and that questions are asked when you have resources and engineers before you go to the Infrastructure Finance Authority. I just think it could have been different, done better. It's 17 months to not have a budget or not have a plan for economic development. I will be critical. It's not my liaisonship. I absolutely agree to that. There is too much that I have a responsibility for to manage that one as well, but I will call out when I don't think things are going well. If parks were in the red, if planning were in the red, the fairgrounds, while I was the liaison, was in the red, you have absolutely the right to criticize or call me out and ask for greater details. But those are not the case. The projects that I had set out when I took office are coming to fruition of a forest inventory, a code codification, things that I'm liaison to. A Demick Tower will be demolished by the end of this year. A host of other different projects that are not things that I do on a daily basis, I just try to manage them down the road and push them to make sure that they are getting done.
Well, he's kind of full of it too. Okay, all right. Now, I think he was right about this, my personal opinion. But Demick Tower came down with no plan what to do with it. There's no plan at all. They're not even going to talk about having a plan. They can't even make a calendar schedule to talk about having a plan. Okay. And as far as the other things go, none of those have worked out. So, but I think his most telling point was she was just trying to convey to all of us that he asked her to take over the liaisonship to economic development. He never was the liaison. And he mentioned in this that, what did he say, that it was 17 months? That was 12 months ago. Where's our plan? Why do we spend all this time doing nothing?
Oh, we have a plan. We're gonna have somebody else do it. That's the plan, I'm guessing.
We all know Mike's point about this, and my point is, if we're going to spend any money at all, which is, questioned by Mike Jones, you can contact him. His telephone number is, okay, never mind. The question is, if we're going to spend any money, shouldn't we be spending it in a way that would benefit every business, economic development for everybody?
Yeah, listen, there's not much I can do in this particular situation because there are so many things. The list of prerequisites that you got to knock out of the way for things to work in the way that I think they would automatically, organically, you got to get rid of a bunch of other boots on the neck first before you get down to. So this situation, they are throwing this economic development money at us. It is our duty to do something with it correctly. I think that it's been an utter failure up to now. And the right way to do this, since you don't have a whole lot of control over the rest of the hindrances of government on all of us, what you do is you subsidize that which we have control over and say, listen, every single building permit, until we're out of money, is free. Come on down. And you have so much building going on, you wouldn't know what to do with it all, and everything that goes with that. I mean, how tough is that to understand? When you build a house, you're employing plumbers, roofers, carpenters, plumbers. Did I say plumbers?
Yeah, well, you have twice as many plumbers.
You got people building roads, you got people putting in sewers, you got people, there's all kinds of stuff that's happening, and all of that money gets thrown out throughout the whole community. So this idea of taking, 50 grand and giving it to somebody, that's like a birthday present. I don't know what those people did for you, but I'd be willing to bet you don't pay for coffee when you go into that place.
It was given to them as a gift, as just a gift. They never have to pay it back. All right, so here's the other question about So Ready. Cheryl Walker said today, well, So Ready does all kinds of things. What does So Ready stand for? Southern Oregon Regional Economic Development, Inc. Well, she says, well, they're not involved with economic development. What? It's in their name. It's like the Job Council does not deal with counseling you about jobs. It didn't.
Yeah. Yes.
Now they're the workforce development group or whatever. Really? Because they weren't helping develop any jobs. Southern Oregon.
Yes, and when the name global warming.
Well.
Yes, and when the name global warming stops working out, you go with climate change.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. Why are we spending all that money? And we're continuing to spend money. Well, one reason we spend it with So Ready is Cheryl Walker's on their board. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, you know what? I'm hoping that people are paying attention because this is the problem that we have in this county. Not one of these commissioners is representative of the thinking of the electorate here.
Oh, well, no, but I'm going to argue with you
will show that.
We've seen them take instant emergency action. This happened. We were at a meeting where it happened as such an emergency they couldn't even put it on the agenda. Really, you know, like the health director and the increased infant mortality rate. She didn't come in saying we have an emergency. She came in saying good news. We're going to get more money because we have more dead babies. Okay, I mean, sorry to put it so bluntly, but that's true. Okay, so if we've got an emergency, I'm going, oh, it's an emergency. There wasn't even time to put it on the agenda. Yes, we need to send off an emergency letter to Salem. Oh, really? What's this about? About suing the federal government? No. Is it about telling BLM to back off? No. It's about something that's going to help his business, personal business, with Cheryl Walker. What?
And where's the part where they're representing the citizens of this county?
They're representing Cliff Thomason. They're representing Cheryl Walker. They're representing Simon Hare, probably a couple other members of Rotary Club, I would guess,
Yes.
the other members. And don't forget Jim Frick, who says, I love your show. Well, I'm so happy that he loves our show. We're going to take you at face value, Jim. You're not a liar. You love our show. We know that you do.
But see, you're joking, and I was serious.
Oh,
and,
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah. No, it's no big deal, but you know, not one of these people represents us, and so this is critical. Not only that we get rid of these people, but that we replace them with people who we know are going to represent our interests, and that is going to take a little bit more examination on the part of you guys. Yep. In order to do that, because Simon, I know how Simon did it. He just started talking, and everybody went, "Oh my gosh, he's so knowledgeable. He knows what he's talking about." Yeah, too bad that he's not going to do anything. He's not going to do anything to help our situation. He sits right there
when they're breaking the law. He sits right there when they're breaking the law. You know,
and he sits right there while they're breaking the law.
Well, even Keith X said, I know we're breaking the law, and I don't care. Simon Hare is like,
right.
He left the room.
You know, I mean, right. And in addition to that, he doesn't do anything really to help the county out. And they do these little dances around, like, oh, we're working on economic development, yay!
They always
in their minds.
They always do this,
yes,
just
right.
like Mike was showing. They always do this. It's a kind of an economic development dance.
It's this is it, right? Yes, and you know, it never amounts to anything. Listen, you know what? If I am building a table, when I'm done, I've got a table. Okay, this is not that complex. You know, listen. People came to this country in droves, and why did they come here? Did they come here because somebody was working on economic development? No, they came here because they knew that people were not going to hinder their pursuit of their own economic development. You know, and so this is not that difficult. This is not algebra here.
When they came here and they encountered mountains, they took their wagons apart and they carried them on their backs to the other side of the mountain. That is some kind of
and that,
buddy.
Yes, that's a very good point. And basically what Dale is saying here is that you don't need to subsidize these people. They will take their wagons apart and go over a mountain to get to opportunity. All you have to do is provide the environment for it to take place. And the only thing that stops it from happening here is the hindrance that government puts upon it. And we have a limited ability to lift that hindrance. But to the degree that you do, that Salem sends you money for economic development purposes, you should use it to remove the hindrances of government from people. This is a simple solution. But the problem is these guys are too pointy-headed. They think they know something special. Of course, now they're learning, oh my gosh, this is more complex than even I understood, because we're not able to do it. So they're going to give it to somebody else who's going to fail miserably because they're going to use the exact same prescription.
And they're using your money. They're using your money to get there. Okay, you think that maybe we're exaggerating, and probably if you're watching this, you don't. But if you think that we're exaggerating, let's go look at just the two things that I can think of that are there for you to see, which is the stellar performance of the Board of County Commissioners. One is you can go to Cave Junction and look at a plaque on a rock. And the other thing that you can do is you can go to what used to be a building. It's now torn down, and now it's a parking lot. There's your economic development.
All right. Yes, and while you're at it, why don't you stop into the new Rogue Roasters building as soon as they open it up there and ask for some free coffee as a means of getting some of your money back?
How about $50,000 worth of free coffee?
Yes.
Somebody ought to be getting that.
Yeah, listen, this is the most absurd thing there is.
Yeah, okay. So next clip, and Simon Hare is doing the best that he can to talk some sense into people. Go ahead.
If history is any kind of good measure of intent,
no,
this North Valley Sewer District without a project manager will continue to flounder. And meanwhile, we don't have that kind of time. History tells me that. The North Valley Industrial Park has not been my responsibility since I have been on this board, ever. And good people wanted the Demick Tower to be in a different state for a decade, and it never happened. And I don't want to look back in a year or two and good plans have been drawn up, great meetings have happened, and nothing is tangibly come to fruition. So I don't want to be critical. That's not my goal. My goal is that we make progress on these things. And yeah, I'm going to be frustrated, and in a creative way, hopefully offer up suggestions that can be integrated, that it isn't your way or the highway or my way or the highway. It's like what Commissioner Heck said, we're making progress on tangible things.
Well, what did he just say? Let's look back in a year. He doesn't want to look back in a year or two and see that nothing's been done. Well, hello, it's been a year. Has anything been done?
I think that they should have let it flounder, because that much flounder can go for a lot of money. It's pretty expensive. I think he meant founder, but and then to take the Demick Tower to a different state, that certainly would have been more. I'm glad they just tore it down.
That's not what he meant. Pick it up and like those pioneers from before. You take it apart, put it on your back, and go over the mountains with it to take it over to Nevada. That's what we're going to do.
Right. Yes. Yes. I had him
with Jim Frick, who threatened to move to Idaho if we didn't do what he said with manner development out at the airport. You nervous Nancy's? Was he calling us homosexuals? I think he was.
I don't know. No, certainly not.
Oh, yeah. That's what he meant. But it's good to know that he loves this show. I love your show. I really love your show. Hey, thanks, Jim Frick. We're going to tell everybody about it. We did take out no, I'm not taking out any advertisements in the Daily Courier. We'll take out full page advertisements on our website. Jim Frick loves our show. Thanks, Jim. Okay, so yes. I believe that the next one shows Cheryl Walker come roaring back with a vicious retort. Tell him, Cheryl Walker. I think so.
I don't work for this board. I work for those people. And economic development from two substantial businesses in the North Valley area have serious concerns about the progress being made, Three Rivers included. So if I don't bring those forward to this board and ask for progress, I'm not doing my job reflecting their requests.
We have to see some consensus, and we have to look beyond November. We have to look beyond and to see something being able to take place. And I don't have any problem with that. And might it work? I mean, might it work? But to sling subtle stones, I don't see any great benefit in that.
Madam Chair, I don't want to be subtle at all. I'm looking for those things in revision, and a year and a half has been long enough. So I appreciate that there's a lot of work behind the scenes, and that's typically what we've heard, which is good, because we need that stuff. But where is the upfront policy proposals, budget, direction, vision? Those are things that that I'm sure Commissioner Walker is going to propose in her plan. I actually appreciate this kind of a conversation, which we don't typically have in public. We have them on Thursdays. They're not necessarily bad. We don't get an opportunity to talk outside of these public meetings, and we shouldn't. So this is where it needs to happen.
Liar, liar, liar! You're such a liar!
This cracks me up with her, and she writes something down, and then she throws her pencil down on the table, and then, oh, wait a minute, he just said something that reminded me of something else. I'm writing it down, and I throw my pencil down. Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this in public. Nobody there appreciates this opportunity.
Yes.
Don't lie to us. Come on.
Yes.
We
I'm
never get
doing
a
this
chance.
for you. I
We
am
never
doing
get a
this
chance to
for
talk in
you.
private. Yeah. Oh, did you catch Keith Heck's subtle reference to November? He's talking about Simon Hare was running for office, and he was sure that Simon Hare was bringing up the fact that there's been no progress, and there still has been none that we can see. A year ago, he said this, well, you know, once we get past November, yeah, well, here we are. It's, what is it now? July? Where's the progress? Well, I'm sure we're going to put together a schedule of events, and you're going to be clear about what we're going to do. 1, 2, 3. There'll be a budget. There's no budget. There's no schedule of events. It's a little bit here and a little bit there, and let's give this money to my friends.
What is a subtle stone? You know,
You're throwing subtle stones.
And then Simon, hey, I do not want to be subtle, so I'm throwing blatant stones.
That's right.
That's what I'm doing. Okay.
Third rock from the sun. That's us. Okay, now that wasn't Cheryl Walker defending herself, but now she's coming roaring back with all kinds of, this is going to pin his ears back. See, his ears are pinned back. Take a listen.
Commissioner Hare made a couple of comments here that he was talking about economic development was not my responsibility ever. In the 2 years before Commissioner Heck and I came on the board, he frequently talks about how he was the chair for 2 years. So I would think he was responsible for what happened, as some of that time there were no other commissioners available to handle it. And granted, when you're here as a lone ranger, as a chair, I'm sure it was very difficult. No one would deny that it was not difficult.
She keeps glancing at her paper.
But he also can say that he had no responsibility either. He was the chair.
Wait a minute. What else?
And then Commissioner Hare talks about his management expertise and how he has substantial points that need to be met to measure success.
Here it comes.
I think that Commissioner Heck has probably 50-some years of work experience, and I as well have 50-some years of work experience, and I've certainly held management positions far to exceed what I'm currently doing. I've had to manage budgets, I've had to manage personnel, I've had to manage programs, and I've owned my own business. So I think that measures of success and points of success vary according to what you have to do, whether you're government, whether you're private business, or anything else. To my knowledge, Commissioner Hare has only worked in government.
Now,
yeah,
this is delicious. This is delicious. We're not going to show you the clip for this because we're only going to be 3 hours tonight, but it's a joke. I asked at a follow-up meeting, what was the name of your business, Cheryl Walker? Well, I don't remember. She doesn't remember the name of her business. And so I pursued her on this and asked her at the next weekly business session. Cheryl Walker, I had asked you the other night, well, you ambushed me with that question. I didn't know you were in it. I was turning away and walking away. No, she wasn't. She was looking me straight in the eye. You asked me behind my back. No, I didn't. You're such a liar. I turned off the camera. People say, big mistake. I can't leave it on all the time. But she was looking straight into my eyes. what was the name of your business? It seems like a pretty, I mean, I thought, okay, let's go look up and see. She couldn't remember the name of, she couldn't remember the name of her business. She couldn't remember the name of her business. And so I asked a subsequent weekly business session.
Perhaps
Cheryl
you
Walker,
could tell us that another way.
yeah, what was the name of your business, Cheryl Walker? And she just sat there and then scribbled something. Did she scribble the name of the business? She never did tell us. She still maintains that she couldn't remember the name of her own business.
Mm-hmm.
So that just seems like an odd thing. I mean, she's accusing him of only being in government. I'm not saying I like the guy, okay? But at least he's not super colon blow. He's just regular colon blow. Okay, let's go to the next clip, please.
To my knowledge, Commissioner Hare has only worked in government. Nothing wrong with that. That's not a criticism. But what I'm saying is that someone who's younger than my son is telling me that he has the measure of success that I need to meet is not appropriate. I think Commissioner Heck and I have other measures of success. And sometimes measures of success are hard to recognize.
What?
Wow.
Measures of success are hard to recognize? You know, all this is the same meeting, and you're going, what is she saying? This is why we had to divide up into parts. Measures of success are hard to recognize?
Yeah, they are. You wouldn't understand it. It's far too complex for your little brain.
She said Dale Matthews doesn't understand economic development. Obviously, I don't. I see closed down businesses. I don't recognize success when I see it.
I laughed out loud when she said that, you know, that somehow she does understand. Oh, yeah, really? Well, you know, I would measure your success on that, but perhaps I'm not using the right yardstick.
She and Commissioner Heck have different measures of success than Simon Hare does, and he's on the same board.
Yes. Well,
what are these measures of success? She was the one who famously said, when you drive around town and you see these boarded up businesses, that's not failure. That's actually success, you see, because there's many successes behind the scenes.
Oh, yes.
And they're so inspirational, too, when you think about it. When you look out your window as you're driving along through downtown and you see nothing but success, that is a certain measure of success that fits you and you alone, Cheryl Walker.
Mm-hmm.
The only time she chokes up, apparently, is when she drove by one of the government buildings that was shut down, and she said it made her kind of choke up, and it made her think of the patriotism of her family or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Brother.
Nice. Nice.
Okay, but we're saving the best almost for last. Now she decides that Simon Hare cannot give her any advice at all, and here's the reason why.
His frustration, I think, is unfounded. He said just last week that he was very happy that some of his projects were now finally coming to fruition, specifically referring to the Dimmick campus at the hospital. It took him 3.5 years, and yet in 18 months he expects me to perform a miracle on something that's been a disaster for a long time. But I find it to be a double standard that I'm expected to live up to something in 18 months when someone else is crowing about fruition in 3.5 years. So I find that very disconcerting. But I absolutely agree with Ms. Webb that a lot of that has not been well spent over the last few years. And I want us to put it all behind us, and I want us to move forward. So, frustration comes from someone feeling like they're not in control. And sometimes not being in control is okay. And but I will tell you right now, I have this portion that was assigned to me, actually handed to me very willingly, and with a great deal of energy of getting rid of it by Commissioner Hare last year.
Mr. Walker, I'm going to interrupt you. And
you can interrupt me, yes, that's fine, go ahead.
I apologize, but I think I'd rather we just focus on the issue. If you want to go to the idea of how it was given, I've got plenty on my plate. I didn't need another thing.
So then leave it on my plate and quit trying to undermine me and take it over, okay?
Do it.
I am doing it.
Good.
And I could talk to you about a few things that you should be doing too. But I don't bring that up publicly.
Oh, you guys, come on.
You don't need to comment.
Yes, we do.
So I did not like it that you were saying that this was put on the agenda and then I ignored it yesterday. I didn't put it on the agenda, and I don't like you leaving that impression, and that's what I was addressing. Okay. Okay. When we compare to other counties, they have different tax rates too. I meant to mention that. But anyway, it is now 9:57. Being no further business, we are adjourned.
Thank God.
I get the impression that she's feeling a little defensive.
Well, and
Yeah, baby.
and she and Simon characterized this as not fighting. We weren't fighting. Why would you say we were fighting? Why, Mr. Matthews, you obviously don't understand. This was not fighting.
Yes, no, that was not fighting at all.
And here's members of the audience saying, "Hey, you guys, cut it out. Get back to work. You don't need to comment." Yes, we do, because you're not stopping. This was the third week of this. Meanwhile, Jim Moore sitting there the whole time. Apparently, he doesn't hear any of it. Not a word of this. Nothing ended up in the Courier. Not news.
Yeah, nothing ended up in the Courier. Yeah, that's right.
So you don't need to worry about it because it's not in the Daily Courier. Because this wasn't on a press release. You see, you can't take a press release and rewrite it if there's never a press release about problems with the board. And so the only people who are going to tell you about that is Mike and I. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So we played this a year ago. We're playing it back for you now. And did you notice how she said, well, the reason that we can say that Simon Hare was in charge of economic development was that he was the chair. You know who was the chair of this meeting? Cheryl Walker. That was a year ago.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I have one more clip from the time for choosing last night that if Josephine County were a country unto itself, this clip would perfectly apply in a number of locations to our situation. And it's about a minute long, and here it is.
On earth. And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. You and I are told increasingly we have to choose between a left or right. Well, I'd like to suggest there is no such thing as a left or right. There's only an up or down. Man's old age dream, the ultimate in individual freedom consistent with law and order, or down to the ant-heap of totalitarianism. And regardless of their sincerity, their humanitarian motives, those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course.
Yes, sir. And it's certainly not all of that. Then when it comes to, we're not at war with Medford or anything like that, but just this idea that, see, they know better than we do, and you don't understand economic development. It's too big for your little pea brain. When he's talking about the little intellectual elite in a far distant capital, he's just talking about the commissioners right downtown here. So the bottom line is that we need people that are going to be representing our interests and not trying to hinder us in the pursuit of happiness that we all have too much time or that we spend too much time pursuing and not paying attention to what is going on downtown. I don't know. I just thought that was relevant.